Chris Watkin here, joined by Peter Rollings, ex-MD of Foxtons and Marsh Parsons. Peter, one of your pet hates is poor leadership in a state agency. What do you mean by that? Talk to me.
Well, I think if you're running an estate agency, you have to be all in. It's not a job you can sort of dip in and out of. It's just not. And if you have people working for you, and they're seeing you basically working part time, the whole atmosphere and the culture will dissipate, and it won't succeed, or it will succeed, but not nearly as much as it should. I'll give you an example. I used to leave the office in head office in where we were in Marsh Parsons in Hammersmith, and if I left early for a meeting, I'd leave at 4:30 and go to a meeting at 5:30. Wouldn't be going back to the office. I wouldn't shut my door, but I'd call my secretary at 6 and say, "Can you shut my door, please?" Because the last thing I want people to think is that I'm buggering off early to go shopping or something. Yeah. And I know it's rather pathetic. I get that, but it's how it goes to a flavour of how I want to be seen, because that's frankly how I am, and I want to be seen from leading from the front. And 9.5 times out of 10, I am. I believe you've got to be all in or not at all.
You're very famous for having monthly meetings, or it used to be weekly meetings with Foxtons, but monthly meetings with every single staff member at Marsh in a room.
Yeah.
And also going to every single office physically every single week.
Yeah.
That must have put a lot of time constraints in it. Issues.
Yeah, but it's often
that good
said
leadership?
The people are your biggest asset you've got, and if you're not nurturing your people and making them feel valued and understanding success, an arm around the shoulder when they're having a tough time, then you're kidding yourself. You're going to have a good business. You can have a brilliant brand and well known, but if your people are sort of existing there, not thriving, then you've got a problem.
What advice would you give to people where, let's say, you've got a great neg that has a poor month, or a valuer that has a poor month?
Month is immaterial. If they were turning up 20 minutes late for work and leaving, going on long lunches and leaving at 5 o'clock, I'd have a real issue. But you can tell that. But if they're working hard and still having a crappy month, then I'm completely chilled and forgiving about them. I'd sit down at the end of the month and say, right, what's gone wrong? And they've almost certainly they've done something. They haven't been selling the market. They haven't been telling people who of why they should be buying right now. So they're not doing their job. And it wouldn't be monthly, that would be weekly. That's why I went to meetings every week, because you sit in a meeting and you hear what's going on. Because in a month, you've lost 3 weeks if it's the end of the month. But you can pick someone up here.
Could you walk into an office and get a vibe of how
yeah. Absolutely. If someone wouldn't...
Is that learnt, or...?
Probably, yeah. I mean, if someone wouldn't look me in the eye, there's a problem. They'd be off. Either looking for another job, or they're pissed off, or they're fed up with something, or something's going wrong. So you take them for a coffee and say, "So what's up?" But you can pull people back onto the straight and narrow by listening to what happens within a meeting. And for instance, I used to know how many phone calls they'd done each day. They'd tell me in an office in that meeting. They would shout out Monday, 17 calls, 11 connected. Tuesday, blah 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 blah, blah, on it went. And if they were doing lots of calls and lots of connected, but getting no appointments, then they're doing something wrong. And I'd know that, and it would be a week, not a month. So we'd sit down at the end of that week, or I would tell the manager to sit down at the end of that week and find out what they're saying and why they're not getting appointments. They're calling the wrong people about the wrong things. They're not being positive. They're just saying, "Hi, you're still looking for property? Yes, okay, bye. I've got nothing for you at the moment." Something would be going wrong. But the longer you leave it, it's the same with targets. The longer a target is, the less effective it is.
Fantastic. Thank you for your insight on leadership in a state agency. Thank you, Peter.